Annie, she told me to say that she made it because she won't be standing. So sorry. Anyways, so just a little about the thing that happened. We went to Davao. Maybe we can go back to the first slide again. We went to Davao with Pastor Daniel and Rebecca Samonim and Danny and I last September 3 to 5. It was just 2 nights and 3 days. So why don't we try to know more about the city of Davao? So according to various sources, Davao City has around 1.9 million people. Please correct me if I'm wrong. I based that from various sources. And Davao City is, as you know, very far from Metro Manila, but quite near from Bacolod City, where we used to have a lot of ministry with and are continuously doing now. And I'm surprised because majority of the people of Davao are Roman Catholics. I thought they were mostly like Muslim, but Muslims are only a small percentage of the people living in Davao. And there are a few Protestants. Of course, there are mixed denominations, and of course, there are followers of Kibuloy. There are also a lot of Iglesia ni Cristo as well. We've seen a lot of churches in Davao. So next slide. So how did we get to come up with this field visit? So Jacob is my classmate in my MBA in AIM. So I don't know if you can see, but I'm sure you've seen Jacob a couple of times in our church, the good-looking buff guy. And I'm the not-so-good-looking chubby guy in the picture. But so yeah, very interesting because in the first day of AIM, when we got to have the icebreaker, getting to know each other. Jacob, told everyone when the professor asked Jacob, just tell me something interesting about yourself or what you're passionate about. Jacob said to our whole classmate in the first day that he's passionate about knowing more about Christ. So that really got my attention because I thought I was the only Christian in my class, but he apparently was. So anyways, he told Pastor Daniel and I that he wanted to invite us to Davao. So during our term break, which was last week, we told ourselves, why don't we visit Jacob, who was the host. So Jacob, his family lives in Davao, and through this trip, it really opened up new doors, new ministries that we've never thought of. Because when we flew to Davao, we did not have any plans. We did not have any motives. We just simply visited Davao because Pastor Daniel also just wanted to see the field and just to check Davao because none of us ever visited in Davao before. But when we went there, God really unraveled many things that we did not even imagine. So next slide. So in the first day, we got to visit this church in the mountainous place in Davao City, in Ilihan. So the name of the church is Mount Sinai Church in Ilihan. And actually, there's nothing really to see. It's in the mountains, and it's just like a few huts and a few wooden houses led by Pastor Juliet, who is a pastor in her old age, a female pastor, and Pastor Japheth. And so, we just have this time of sharing, their testimonies. And one thing that Pastor Daniel was able to catch is that these pastors are very similar with the pastors of Bacolod. They had this flaming passion towards God and sharing the gospel, but they shared to Pastor Daniel that they lacked the resources of, the technicalities. So those were some of the things that we were able to discuss. So next slide. So yeah, this is Pastora Juliet. She's, I think, 70 plus. And she told us that, God has been telling her since 1993 that there will be a church that will be planted here. And lo and behold, I think last year, they were finally able to build this church. And then the one on the right is Pastor Japheth. I think he's only 26 or 27 years old. So Pastor Japheth and Pastor Daniel had a lot of conversation. Next slide. So yeah, we had testimonies and sharing. Next slide. Yeah, so it's really in the mountains. So there's only grass and trees. So yeah, next slide. Yeah. So after visiting Mount Sinai Church, we also got to visit PCT, the Philippine College of Technology, which is the school that Jacob and his family owns. And so the one in the middle is the mother of Jacob, Dr. Balili. And even though it was a sudden visit, Dr. Balili was very, hospitable. They're very welcoming, and she shared her, problems and concerns. And while talking about many things, she gladly said that she's willing to open the school for trainings, trainings for the teachers and even the pastoral trainings in their school. So it was a great blessing. So yeah. So yeah, that's her personal room, and next slide. So just I wasn't able to take really a lot of photos of the school, but this is the main branch, and they have another branch in the rural areas of Davao. Next slide. So one thing unique about this school is that they have a partnership with Kyoto University of Japan, and what they do is that they brought in the cars and motorcycles that are used in Japan, and they train the students so that they can be technicians, so they can go to Japan right away. So they have that kind of partnership. And Jacob told me that there are lots of Japanese Japanese in Davao. So that's another thing. Next slide. Yeah, more photos, but it's just the same angle. And the last day, on the third day, before leaving back to Manila, we were able to meet missionary Gabe. So missionary Gabe is from Manila, but it's, I think, his second year in Davao. So interesting story is that before going to Davao, his pastor just ask for volunteers from his church. Anyone would want to just explore Davao. So him and his wife thought that it was just literally exploring Davao. But apparently the intention of the pastor was to settle in Davao and do mission. So that's what happened. They were able to establish this church called Christ Alone Reformed Baptist Church. And we really had a lot of conversation, especially between missionary Gabe and Pastor Daniel. Maybe, I don't know, maybe Pastor Daniel can share in the future in detail. But they were really open to do more joint ministries together. Pastor Daniel also shared that they can also visit in Manila, just like how we invited pastors from Bacolod to Manila for trainings. But also us, we can also visit their field and Davao more often. So he's actually a UP graduate, and he's also from Ateneo High School, and he actually knows a lot of my friends and also some of the friends of Danny. Next. He's only 29. Can you imagine? Or 29 or 30. Yeah, next slide. So yeah, we were able to meet some of the members of their church. There are lots of young and healthy Christians that attend their church. And this was their house, actually. Yeah, next slide. So yeah, Jacob and some of his cousins who are recent converts to Christianity, and some who attends their church. So it was really good to really see, people of the same faith and who are really passionate about God, but not just passionate, but with proper, biblical, knowledge and truth in Davao. Yeah. And his wife's sister and his wife's father attended Faith Academy as well. So more linkage, to us as a church. So yeah, they served us delicious banana bread, and missionary Gabe loves coffee, so he gave us 2 batches of coffee, but that's just a side story. But yeah, okay, she included this. But right before leaving to the airport, Jacob also introduced us to a Japanese student in Davao called Rin. It was really completely unplanned, but she was in Davao for around 6 months, and she's going back to Japan next week. And we got to meet her. And then she told us that she has never met any Christians in Japan. And in Japan, people don't like religion at all. They don't want to talk about it. So we got to share a little bit about the gospel and who Christ was. And we just hope that this could also branch out to something more. So yeah, these are some of the prayer topics that we were able to have. So hopefully we can really have more trainings for the pastors in Davao, because they're very similar to the pastors in Bacolod. And we could potentially invite the pastors in Davao to Manila for more trainings and conferences. The supplication of training materials for the pastors in Davao. And also, hopefully, we can have training for the teachers of the PCT and the family evangelization of Jacob, and also a possible evangelism camp in Davao. So yeah, I think that's about it. We did not really plan anything, but God really opened up a lot of doors. So yeah, that's all.